Hey guys, welcome to today's vlog. Today's vlog is going to be a little more serious. This is a vlog that I have put off making for a year. When I decided to take the pregnancy test, I was certain that I wasn't going to be pregnant. I just wanted to check it off the list because I'm like, hey, it doesn't hurt to try. It doesn't hurt to check. And so I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell anyone I was getting it. I just did a Target drive-up order, like nothing out of the ordinary. I took it. It was negative, and I was like, okay, cool, negative. And then 2 days later, I decided to take another one because it was a 2-pack. So I was like, let me just take it. It's still gonna be negative. But that morning, it was positive. I started crying and shaking, and I got really warm. And I realized, like, I need to talk to Ryan. Ryan and I are both planners. Like, we have planned everything. So for this baby not to be part of our plan, it was really scary. And we had a lot of thoughts about it and emotions going on. But I really struggled because I just couldn't, like, believe that this was happening. I couldn't believe that I had gotten pregnant. I couldn't believe that we had this decision to make. I was terrified, and that was just something hard for me to overcome. Once I told Ryan, I felt really confident to tell my parents. I'm really close with my parents, so once I talked to them about it, I knew I was going to feel a little bit better. And I told them, and they were shocked because it's not what we thought was going to be happening. But even though that they were supportive, I still felt really unsure of what I wanted to do. So I actually spoke to my sister-in-law about it. I have 2 sister-in-laws, and I talked to one of them about it, and she validated my fears. She made me feel at ease. She had me really think about what I wanted, not what I felt like I had to do, or, you know, who was gonna be upset with my decision or not supportive. So after talking to her, I started to feel like I can do this. Yes, it's scary. Yes, there's things that I was worried about, but I can do it, and I wanted the baby. I did talk to Ryan about a third, but we always said we were going to wait until our second was going into kindergarten or about to be in kindergarten to decide whether we were going to have a third. So this just was a big surprise for everyone. Once Ryan and I decided that we were going to have the baby, we contacted our doctor so we could start genetic testing, which is something we did with Olivia and Zara, just because we want to make sure that they are healthy before we proceed with the pregnancy. So we did that early March and got the results back mid-March, and everything was healthy. There was nothing to worry about. The baby was growing. It just all looked good. And then we found out that it was going to be a girl, and it was going to be our third girl, so we were extremely excited. But then 2 days later, everything changed. I went in for my routine appointment, and it was just to check to make sure that the baby was fine, check the heartbeat, you know, get anything done that they needed me to get done, just nothing out of the ordinary. I went to that appointment alone, and so I was by myself. The nurse always checks my blood pressure. She always asks, is there anything we want to talk about? And she couldn't get the baby's heartbeat on the Doppler, which didn't worry me because it had happened before with my other pregnancies. At 11 and a half weeks, it's really hard to get the baby's heartbeat, so I didn't panic. And then she's like, I'm just gonna have the OB come in and she'll do the same thing. My OB came in, she tried to find the heartbeat, she couldn't. She said the same thing, 11 weeks, sometimes hard to find. Let's get the ultrasound machine. And I did start to panic at that point because the looks on their faces didn't calm me down. I was by myself. Yes. Lorelai's here. I was by myself. They brought in the ultrasound machine. It took forever to warm up, and that didn't help. Like, I just kept panicking, but I didn't like show them that I was panicking. And as soon as they got the picture of the baby up there, I saw that there was no heartbeat. And she didn't even have to say it out loud. I knew what the next words were going to be coming out of her mouth. I called Ryan immediately. I said, Ryan, you need to get here now. And I hung up. Like, I couldn't say anything else. Then my OB said, it looks like you had a miscarriage. And I started tearing. Ryan got there within 5 minutes. It wasn't very far from his office. Once he got there, I told him that she was gone. And we sat with the OB to discuss what the next step was, like what happens after you find out you had a miscarriage. And she told us about the process. She told us we could either go to the hospital or we could take a pill at home. You know, if we wanted a couple days to think about it, we could. I had not started the actual process. Like, my body didn't physically have the miscarriage, I guess you would say, where she comes out of your body. I wanted to do the pill where I could have her at home because a part of me felt like she had to be home once. We got the pill. I was going to take it Wednesday. But my body started the process early on its own. So Sunday night, like around 9 o'clock, my body just started delivering her. And what that means is I started bleeding, and I had everything I thought I could need. I got saran wrap, I got paper towels, I got plastic bags, I got everything. And Ryan offered to stay up with me because he knew it was going to be a lot. But I just didn't feel comfortable with him and the idea of all this blood coming out of me. I didn't think, like, emotionally that was going to be healthy for him. It was something that I would have to see, but he wouldn't have to see. So I told him that if I needed him, I could wake him up. I ended up not waking him up at all. Between 4 and 5, I started to feel pain. Our game plan was to try and catch her. So that's why I had the rubber gloves. So I was like sifting through all the fluids. It was gross. It was a gross thing, but we wanted to try and test her to see exactly what went wrong, if the genetic testing was all right. But around 5 o'clock, I had lost it. I was so tired. My body could not take anymore. The cramping is not like your period. It is 10 times worse, in my opinion. And emotionally, like, you know why it's happening right now. You know why you're going through this. And that's devastating. And so I went on the toilet, because that whole time I did not go on the toilet. And I felt her come out. Like, something was just a little different. And I knew it was her. And she came out. But I started to feel more pain in my abdomen. I called my OB. They checked me at the office. Then they sent me to the hospital. They put me on like a painkiller. They brought in the ultrasound machine to make sure that she was completely out. And we went home. And I was on painkillers for a couple days. And the grieving process continued. My biggest regret for delivering her at home was not having Ryan there. I feel like even though it would have been emotionally hard for him as well, I think having him there to witness what I was going through and what my body was going through might have been helpful. If it ever happened to me again, I probably would have the DNC done. That way it's less for me to worry about, like the whole cleaning process. I feel like that's something that I didn't need to have to deal with. I didn't need to put myself in that situation. All our friends and family were extremely gracious. People were sending food on a meal train. They were sending gifts. They were sending edible arrangements. They were sending notes. They were just so sweet, and we really appreciated all of it. And we weren't really sure how to react to all of it, but we were so grateful that we had it. It was just a different experience. It was something that we didn't think we would have to ever deal with, the loss of a child. So at 28, when I was experiencing getting sympathy cards for my own child, that was something that was just emotionally hard in itself. Like, I didn't know how to handle it, and I didn't know necessarily what to say to people, but I know that feeling all their love and support was extremely helpful. I did join a support group. Now, I only went to the support group one time, and the reason I went one time is because the parents in the support group were much further along in their pregnancies than I was. They were in the second trimester, if not the third trimester, and I just kind of felt like I didn't have the right to be there. And I know that sounds silly, but it just made me feel sad. So I decided that I needed to find a different way to get support outside my family. So I called up our counselor. Ryan and I work with a counselor for like a couples counselor. We have used a counselor since college. We use it when there's any kind of big changes, and it's been really healthy for us. Like, we really like it, and it's been really good for us all these years. So when we went to the counselor, we were able to talk about what we were feeling. We were able to talk about the grief process and how shocking it was and what we wanted to do moving forward. And we went as a couple, but I also went by myself sometimes just to have additional support that was outside, so I could have a more private conversation. And that was helpful. So I really recommend that if you don't want to talk to a whole group of people, find a counselor. My counseling services are free through my job. So check with your job and see if that's an option for you, because talking to someone that's not in your family, it is a different experience, and you can sometimes be more vulnerable because your thoughts are kept private. When is the right time to go back to work? How do you know you're ready to go back to work? And the truth is that you don't. You won't know if you're ready until you're there. However, it's also good to remember that if you get to work and you realize, okay, no, I'm not ready for this, I can't do this, or you spend a couple days back at work and you still have those feelings like, I don't want to be here, I'm just not ready, then remember, it's okay to take a step back and stay home. You do get a bereavement period even with a miscarriage, because technically you still lost someone in your immediate family. So take advantage of that, because you do need to cope. You do need time to process what just happened, and your body needs to even heal, because even though your baby may have not been born alive, like, it's still a childbirth. No matter if you do the DNC or the pill, like, your body still goes into that postpartum reaction. So it's just as if you had a baby that was alive. So take time for yourself, for your mental health, for your physical health, for your emotional health. It's all important. So if you need to use that time to really gather yourself together. When I went back to work, I had taken 2 weeks off, and then my students had a spring break. So I was out of school for 3 weeks altogether. And when I went back, I thought I was ready, But I kind of realized once I was there that I wasn't so ready. I was still able to do my job correctly and all that, but my personality was different, and I didn't feel as goofy and as fun as I was before the miscarriage. I would have times when the students were not there, they were at recess or they were at lunch or specials, where I was able to cry and then gather myself back together, and then I would come home and cry. So I don't feel, looking back, that I was really ready to go back, but the more time I spent there, the more I started to feel like so distracted, and my students were so supportive that they kind of got me out of my shell. So being around people again made me feel like I was getting back to myself and back to who I was. I decided that I was going to stay for the rest of the school year. I did think whether I was going to take a leave of absence, but I stayed, and I'm really glad that I did. I was able to use the whole summer to really grieve and just spend time with my family and figure out what we were going to do next. I actually got pregnant again on the last day of school, which we kept quiet. We did not tell anyone the whole first trimester. We kept it to ourselves. So I think that also helped with my grieving process, because after we lost Sila, I was really sad and started going into a depression. But I also had this feeling like, okay, let's fix this. Let's get back to where we were before we lost her. This experience, getting pregnant and it not being planned, was an eye-opener for me. I was able to realize, okay, I'm ready to have a third baby. And when we lost her, I was devastated. And it's an experience that I hope no one goes through, but I know it's very common for people to go through it. But again, don't feel rushed to get pregnant right away if you're not ready. We did try and get pregnant as soon as we were able to, as soon as I was cleared by my OB, and we did get pregnant. Now, that's not going to be the same for everybody, where they feel like, oh, I want to get pregnant right away. So that's really like based on each couple, like what you're ready for. Don't at all feel like rushed to do it. If you feel like, okay, you want to get back to it so you can have another baby, you know, that is totally up to you. But don't feel like this pressure to do it. For me, I just felt like I needed to get back to where we were before the miscarriage. Thank you for watching today's vlog. I know today's topic was a little heavier. I know that if you're going through a miscarriage now, that it's a very hard time for you, and I hope this video was helpful. If you are someone going through a miscarriage, I just want to say that I'm sorry for your loss. It's going to take time for you to grieve, so allow yourself that time to grieve. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye guys.